3d6 down the line.
Okay, we're back. It's episode 41 in the books. Well done. Great session. Tons of fun.
That was like the perfect session, man.
It was awesome. It was
We're just telling.
very,
I was just telling
very
Ted it was,
old school.
Yeah.
Like the combat, John, you were pushing it fast.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. The puzzles, the de-arming traps, the crap scaring the crap out of us on the other side of the door. Had it all, baby.
Yeah,
it really was. Did. It was
a classic session of Dungeons and Dragons. It really was.
It really was.
Yeah, combat, random encounters,
we miss
traps.
Our friends.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, it was good shit.
I think that Thoth Isis set puzzle was really interesting because it really makes me reconsider what's going on up in the Hall of Shrines,
right?
Or Hall of Heroes, or whatever we were calling it. Like, because I feel like we were very low level, and we just gotten out of a bad situation. We all had PTSD up in there, right? I feel a lot more confident about going back there and trying some puzzles, which I'm convinced they are. I don't think they're all like deadly traps exactly. I think they're puzzles, but like I liked this one because it was, you enter the room, a thing starts to happen. There's a puzzle to solve and a monster to distract you from doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was a well-designed encounter. I got to say,
you're definitely thinking on really smart tracks there, Ted, because you're thinking about the history of the place. Once again, I've pushed this again. Like every room has a purpose, right? It's not just there to be a cool thing to interact with for PCs, right? There was a purpose for this for the Thoth priesthood, and thinking upon that purpose can help you weigh risks, right? Like this. This was an area of worked Arcontian stone. It wasn't necessarily hidden, right?
Right.
And it was accessible, so it means that at one point this was interacted with by the Thoth priesthood. So to what purpose, right?
Yeah, well, it's a mystery to me, and this is the weird thing because, so like in reality, in our Earth, if you were to have a priesthood gather around a temple, there would be shrines and prayer stations and altars and all sorts of things for priesthood to interact with, in which they would initiate themselves into the mysteries and become deeper and deeper engaged with the religion. But let's face it, the Isis statue doesn't come to life and pop out a little statue and the set starts spitting snakes at you. So we're dealing with a little bit of extra level of danger here for as adventurers, but I gotta say that is a weird thing to put in your temple.
Yeah, no doubt.
For the priesthood, like, you're the new guy. If you want to become a second level neophyte, you got to go in there and talk to Isis.
Right.
Like a way to haze them.
Exactly. Like, what's going on?
But you're definitely thinking along the right tracks too about like calling them mysteries of the cult, mysteries of the priesthood. Right. It's a huge thing, especially for Thoth. Right, which is like the keeper of secrets of knowledge and stuff like that. Like inducting into the secrets was a rigorous task, and also keep in mind too that when you step down in there, Mort, initially, that only two of those statues, seemingly arbitrarily, Isis and Set,
that is a good
stepped
point.
in. None of the other five, the other four, did anything. Right, so just be aware.
Maybe
that's interesting.
So depending on the time of day you enter, or how many people enter, or anything.
It also, or is it just on a cycle? Or is it just on a cycle? Like this time it was Set and Isis, but what's the next one?
And they weren't even diametrically opposed, occasionally.
Notice that.
Yeah.
And it almost, to me, it felt like watching like one of those Swiss clocks, like one of those really ornate Swiss clocks, right? Where the little figures come out and they, do stuff and then they go back in. I'm like, that's probably kind of like what this is on some level.
It makes me wonder because we've encountered other, various shrine-like spaces like this one. And this is big picture and I don't have any clue on how to actually sort this one out. But let's say for the sake of argument, throughout Arden and all these different levels and so on, there's like 10 of these, right? Let's say you interact with all 10. Does some new thing open up or bigger mystery reveal itself? Like if you collect, the 7 parts of the rod of infinite Thothian wisdom or something, like the chasm closes or opens up even further and reveals a whole nother temple. Who knows? This is
right.
Sky's the limit with this stuff. But I have yet to see in one of these spaces something that like feels like if we took that with us, then that's part of a puzzle kind of thing.
Well, you've got maybe not with
the thing about. Oh, go ahead, John.
No, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Ted, I'm wondering if it's also a mistake to remove that statuette because it might be part of another puzzle in that room. Like, what if the next part of it is Horus, like putting out his hand to weigh the dead, or like, well, I don't know my Egyptian mythology, right? But it could be something like that. And you might need to have something that heavy and concentrated to get through the next part. So I almost feel like rather than just shoving it in Laryl's sack and forgetting about it for 30 sessions, maybe next session when we have David and Matt here or whatever, go back in there and try and figure out the other mechanisms, maybe.
Yeah, I got no problem with that. I don't know how much oil we've got left.
Right.
To get out of here, but
well, we can always pull one a day out of Laryl's sack, but that is only one a day.
One a day.
We spend a lot of time in darkness.
Yeah.
Or we can hang out in the fountain room, I guess. But at some point, we're going to start with.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea of going back and re-engaging with that room, especially while you can see magic. Because if something else, I don't really want to fight more snakes, but if something else happens, that would be really good to know. And I also really want to go back up to the Hall of Shrines now and muck around with some of those little nooks.
I mean, it doesn't really change for us that we still have to try and figure out a secure area. That obelisk of death is a little bit concerning.
Yeah. So I'm kind of down on this spot now as being not a great safe space.
Well, it's up to you.
I said it jokingly during the session, but that is a big, with all the Egyptian theme going on here, and now there's like giant pillar of death magic or whatever. It's very Warhammer 40K Necrons, It's kind of like I'm like waiting for guys with big Gauss rifles to start appearing next to the pillar and like blasting us.
And you see no indication of like radiant evil like that from any manifestation of Thoth. Or indication of the priesthood.
But would we have known, right? Because it's only because I have this like third eye thing going on that we were able to recognize it.
You would.
We would know.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys knew too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They did, but they didn't see the source of it. You saw the source of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Which is pretty handy. Like knowing that.
Yeah. And once again, remember you were only viewing it with dark vision. I mean with infravision. So you did not get a good look at that thing at all. Basically that's not cool, and shut the door. But as far as assessing safety, though, you have to wait for yourself. But there's a door that is shut away from that thing, and then you've also got the door shutting you away from the stairwell right here as well. So,
well, we were thinking in long-term safety, like could this be our territory? Yeah, and I don't like. It's something that Garrelad doesn't seem to know about so far. And so far, it seems like the goblins have been having a hard time surviving to get here. So those doors may be one way.
There is indication, though, that they have been pushing, right? Yeah. They made their way to that across that bridge, right?
They did.
Yeah.
And as far as we know, there's still that hole in the wall that we knocked through there to go when we cleaned out Plumthorn's gang, right? So did we see that hole had been repaired or anything like that, John? Or did we just not have time to look?
Would you have seen it with the distance? Yeah, you probably would have seen. Yeah, so no, it looks like that had not been repaired.
Okay.
So they potentially have the ibis-headed monster like wandering into their back door like every couple of days,
That's right on top of them there, with that not being repaired.
Yeah. And it looks like there was no survivors for that little exploratory thing there, right? Like there was 3 and they're all dead. So you might have to think about the time frame there, like how soon will the goblins start to wonder where they went and do they give a shit? That sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, you did kind of indicate though that they're kind of used to like losses and they don't really worry about them too much, Remember when we were out in the big debauch room and there was that big scorched mark and like a bunch of dead ones? They just kind of were like sadly dragging their bodies away and just being like,
Yeah, they take risks. They push. Yeah, they definitely do. Yeah. I mean, you can take a look at the map. I mean, like across that bridge, it is not a far distance right to the heart of the old Plumthorn territory, like right where the scouring took place. You know what I mean? You were right there, pretty much. Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. But yeah, that was some classic dungeon crawling, and your old school skills came into play big time, and you didn't take a scratch. There was danger.
No, one point on Mort from that first snake.
Oh, that's right. You're right. I thought, yeah.
Poison.
Yeah. Right. I forgot about that.
But of all the characters to be out there making those poison saves, man, you and I are the ones that.
Yeah, right.
I was saying it's perfect. God, 6s for your saving throws? I didn't even know. I thought they were at 8s, but I guess you went up a bracket or something. Huh?
Honey badgers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've got it here. Honey badgers.
It's so ridiculous. It's such a good save. It's so ridiculous. So good. Yeah.
At level 4, I go from 8 to 6.
Yeah. And our next saves, I think it drops to 4. It's like stupid.
Yeah.
Where does it bottom out?
So I can only go up to 8th level, and at that point, I'll be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for my saves. Just
I'm looking at dwarves. Oh my god, the dwarf goes down to 2.
Yup.
What?
Yeah, dude, but we can go higher level than you.
Yeah.
That's crack a snack.
God, your highest level.
So actually,
you hit that at 10th. 2, 3, 4, 4, 6. That's just sick.
Why dwarves rule. I don't care what anyone else says. Dwarves are the best, and they always will be.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Why?
Yep.
So, John, what's Mort hits 8th level. That's it for him. The other players can keep going for a few more levels in some cases.
Yep.
There are rules for going past those levels. Are you going to use those or no?
Yeah.
It's just the thing where you get you get an extra couple hit points every thing, But that's at that point, I mean, you would get those little bonuses until everyone else maxes out. Then we have to reassess for domain level play and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I have no idea what the future will bring because, it's not territory that I was very commonly in when I was first experiencing these editions. Yeah,
never. I never got a first edition character up past probably 3rd or 4th level.
Yeah, and that could still very well be the case. So tamper your expectations. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if I'm
already 5th, man. What are you talking about? This is my highest level character that I've ever done in basically basic or AD&D or whatever.
Well, you can imagine if you just had one shitty roll on that saving throw in that combat.
Yep.
Say goodbye. You know what I mean? That's it. That was it.
Was there venom that poisonous?
Yeah. I mean, there's it's actually more frequent, much more frequent for poison just to be death than it is to be some sort of other kind of poison. That's why it's rolled into the death saving throw, like death and poison, right?
It's not just damage. It's not just additional damage or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
was kind of confronted with that a little bit today. I was running my 5e game for my kids, and I had a ghast and 4 ghouls come after them, and I could not get one of them to fail their fucking saving throw. It was the most frustrating thing. Now I'm straight by the rolls. The rolls are the rolls, right? So if one of them had gotten paralyzed and all the rest of one of them did go unconscious, I had the ghast pick them up and was going to run out the door with them, to eat them later kind of thing. They managed to kill him before that happened, but I was just I can't get any of you guys to fail a saving throw.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. The saves are
lame. It's happened to me a number of times where the enemy's really cool ability never pops off in any addition to the game. But I always kind of feel like if you get out of that combat safe and never see it, then it'll be all that much worse when you re-encounter them and assume that they never had anything, and then it does go off. You know what I mean? Because you get a little sloppy. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I did telegraph it. I did the whole you feel your muscles kind of starting to lock up, but then you fight your way through it kind of thing. And they're and now they're wandering down into the Warren where they all came from. And I'm just this is a bad idea, guys.
All right. This is how we learn.
Game on.
Yeah.
Right. That's right. Youth.
Yeah.
We would never do something that crazy. We would never open the door to the evil column of pure energy. No way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm playing back through the events of this
enough.
session and just imagining like what Matt and David would have done in these similar situations. You know, this
We didn't do enough to fuck with David, Ted. You and I kind of.
I know.
he would have
really
fucked with you in
wanted
that obelisk room. You think
What's that?
you think David would have straight up walked out of that obelisk room without actually going down that cliff?
We would have wanted to go in for sure.
Yeah. Well, you know what though? We don't want to deny him that opportunity. He's literally the guy who wanted to throw himself in the fire because he thought it was illusion. Like I'm like, we got to let this play out.
Still open, it's just
I
right around the
kinda wanted
corner.
to see him do it.
Yeah.
You know, like
Oh, there's that
I'd
key.
hate to have him lose a 5th level character or a 4th, I guess he is, but like I kind of wanted him to just be like, yeah, I'm doing it. Be like, all right, man.
You
let's
know,
see what
David doesn't
happens.
give a shit. He'll do it. He doesn't care.
He doesn't give a shit, but I do. I don't want to lose like a powerful 4th level magic using character. Like I'm like,
No,
no, David,
know.
no. So I was literally going to yank the rope out and like not let him jump into the fire.
Yeah.
I was going,
Yeah, that's another thing to keep
So-
in mind. Actually, now that I think about it, is you have well, you've actually played this card, Mike, earlier. Is that you've got a wealth of actual arcane stuff that Onweir can't use, and it just needs to find the right hands. But
Yes.
if you can get that shit in a spell book and get someone to use it, like you're gonna have a whole nother side of
I know.
power.
This is why I really want to have a this is why I really want my next like hireling, if I can find one, to be a wizard.
Mhm.
To be a wizard, or obviously a thief would still be very useful. But I'm not going to hire another dwarf. We have one. I'm the dwarf, right?
Well, you got that open line of communication. There's a chance for Adelrod the Gray to
Yeah, I'm a little
perhaps-
worried that he'll outrank me in levels because dwarves go pretty slow. So
Well, so do
Here's
magic
the
users.
thing, though. Like, I agree. I would love to have a magic user, a proper magic user in the party, not one of these illusionists. A real magic user. But the thing, like you've mentioned it before, Mike, the thing that makes a real magic user like extra tasty is right now we have the funds, but not the time to
Right.
sit around and build a crap ton of scrolls and that kind of thing. Make some potions and whatever. We could have the time, but we've chosen to be cognizant of the things happening around us.
right.
Rather than say, let's go back to Gostwick for 2 months and write 50 scrolls, build a whole shit ton of potions, and come back and discover that like now the King of the Goblins is sitting in the Ruby Throne, and he's got Geralad in a gimp suit right in front of him, and he rules all of Arden, and like, oh, you already found all this stuff. Okay, well, I guess we're too late. Like
No, you're absolutely right, though. But that's almost why I think not domain play necessarily, but having a stable location inside the dungeon where these things can happen off the screen, right? Our party can be out adventuring while my hireling is copying shit into a spell book and writing scrolls and like whatever. And then we come back in 2 weeks and he's like, my spell book's good to go. I'm ready to go, or
Right.
in a month or whatever. Now, the thing that is mind blowing to me is that we just played 41 sessions of this game over the course of a year, and it's only been like a month of game time. Like,
Yeah.
that is concerning. And I think that plays to your
Yes.
point about like we're just like running and gunning in here, and our pace is faster than we can really like sustain, to be honest.
Like, we've session 39, 39A, 40, and 41 have all been the 30th of Vulgarios.
Mhm.
Like I left Codswallop studying Mithric. He hasn't learned shit yet. Like we've only been gone for 12 hours or something at this point, maybe
And-
probably 16 or 17. But
and a
the
good
point
chunk.
being like a lot can happen to us in the dungeon while your wizard has barely gotten the first scroll started.
I know, obviously.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, John?
I was just going to say that a big chunk of the middle of Logarios was actually spent in Gosterwick identifying items. There's like 6 days in there that was just like hand waved.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Worth it. Important.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah.
I wish I'd had Codswallop start learning Mithric, that week, but
Right.
I don't know if we had the book yet at that point. It's fine. Point being, there's a lot of things you can do that we've chosen we're not going to do because we're going to do it this other way. And I'm just going to miss some of those things like the studying and the spell preparation and that kind of stuff. But it's fine because I'm having a blast killing snakes with more.
To your point though, man, we need to be able to vary that up a little bit, right? And I think we are running and gunning right now because we have no safe harbor, and I think that is a big deal. Because I think you guys are overplaying the worry about Gosterwick being safe or not safe. Yes, Wick Trimmer is a problem. Yes, Lady Alexia is a problem, etc. Potentially, but I also think we could
she's not
set up
in Gosterwick, is she?
Yeah, she is. Yeah,
I thought she was in the next town over.
No, that's her half brother who rules over
brother.
her. Yeah, and she's contesting his claim, and that's why she wants the regalia.
But I'm just saying, it's like, yes, of course she wants the regalia, but 80,000 gold buys her a lot of mercenaries to help contest that claim. Like, we have other leverages that we haven't really influenced yet in Gosterwick. I definitely think that we are at a point in our adventuring careers where if we don't set up as major powers, because that's ridiculous, right? We could set up enough of a presence in Gosterwick to not be total schlubs that Wick Trimmer can come in and knock off anytime he wants to, right? Like, I think there's room for that, but part of the problem is getting to and from Gosterwick nonstop, carrying treasure, all the rest of that. Like, it feels like we still need to have like a base of operations in the dungeon, because then if we want to take 2 weeks to write scrolls, the rest of our party can still have spies and all kinds of things out in the middle of the dungeon to keep track of what's going on. Mm-hmm. And we get that by getting a lot of funds, and getting a reputation.
We've got the money. We just need to find the spot.
And also situating yourself politically amongst the factions within the dungeon, that where you would be okay with spending 2 weeks studying and stuff like that, where you're like, okay, we can push forward the times because I'm okay with what the factions might do. And that's 2 weeks. Like if you ally yourselves with the goblins, then okay, if they decide to expand, then that's okay with me because we're allies with them. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. But right now, you have to kind of. You've been asking yourselves this for the past couple of sessions: is how much do you have to worry about what Garrelad, what you think Garrelad will do based upon his actions thus far? Can you afford for time to be wasted now? And if you're okay with it, then you're okay with it. That's totally cool, but definitely another motive just to establish a safe haven within the dungeon, which is always what David has been pushing.
I still think the most fun thing to do here faction wise right now is to figure out some way to open up an avenue from the goblins to Garrelad's area and let the fecundity of the goblins be tested against the viciousness of the 4-armed baboons, right? Because even those 4-armed baboons would have a hard time fighting 20 or 30 goblins at one time, so I don't know.
So problem with that though is that they have fecundity, but they also have extreme cowardice. They are very much like a combat as war sort of race, right? Like where it's like unless they have overwhelming numbers and confidence that they will win. That's why they took down the Darlings. They're like, then they were like, wait a second, you mean there's only like 6 people up there when there used to be a whole bunch of halflings? It's like, well, fuck those guys, you know what I mean? And they went up there, Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. I'm not sure I really want to see the goblins and the baboons fight, because then one of them wins. And if we're not there to manage that victory, let's assume the goblins win, they will just move in.
Yeah.
Right. And
don't disagree with that, but I also don't think that that's something that they can pull off very quickly. Because Cisco, Trefco, and what was it?
I'm just
Ersko?
extrapolating out. Like, I'm not worried about the actual tactics of fighting goblin versus baboon. I'm just saying the eventual victory of one side or the other strengthens the winner and leaves open bare territory. We've already seen what happens with power vacuums. I agree we need to find a safe haven, but I'm kind of the like, don't rock the boat too much kind of thing, and let the power groups have their territory, because we've already seen what happens when you create a power vacuum.
Well, right. And obviously the deeper we go into the dungeon, the more that becomes a problem, because it's hard to get supplies and troops and guards and construction work done 3 levels down when you're surrounded by these guys. But that's why I think making an ally of like the goblins and getting on their side would actually be really, really good. Like, frankly, I would be okay allying with Geralad, except he threw us in prison. He tortured us. He cut off Avaricios' hand, and those fucking monkeys eat people. And I'm kind of like, I mean, granted, the goblins probably do too, but whatever, it's protein. It's hard to get down here.
That's how Mort's always felt about it.
So, but you know what I'm saying is like Geralad doesn't feel as safe an option as the goblins do.
No, I totally agree with that.
Anyway.
And I think, maybe in the next couple of sessions, depending on what happens here on our way out, Mort's come to terms with it. He's going to have to goblin up and meet with the, finally have the parlay that we discussed.
Hey man, we're in a really good spot to be doing that now, right? Because we're right next door to them. We could literally, once we navigate the spider room and the weird scritchy sound, we could wander over there, knock on their door and be like, you guys are having some problems and we are here to help,
I have a thought about that room, not the contents of the room, but the possibility the doors are one way.
Right.
Because I think we need to know, right? So if we split up and half of us go to the on that east wall, half of us go to the north door, half of us go to the south door, and one group opens it, goes through and lets it close, and then tries to open it. If they can, great. If they can't open it, then the other one is open and we can still decide what we want to do.
Right. We should definitely have Lisbeth do that because she is by far and away the most useless NPC that we have.
Poor Matt's gonna have something to say when he hears this one.
It's all right, Matt. It's all love, but you brought some hippy dippy weirdo on our adventuring.
She's gonna drop that fairy fire, and it's gonna be awesome. Just wait.
That would be great. Yeah, she's got crystals, and like little sachets of some fragrant herbs. And
was it Matt that said it? Like he pictured her as Janice from the Muppets. Hey, man. Wow,
that's awesome. Janice, great. That's amazing. All right, we'll leave it there because
I picture her as also having like those harem pants, like you used to see in the parking lot at the Dead shows, And
oh yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah.
Right. We got to get Yost. We got to get Yost those like '80s like football Zuppo pants, the big puffy ones with the stripes on them and shit.
Oh my god.
Amazing.